Necromancer asks, what is your best pickup line? Hey girl, can I Sobek plug into your backline? Hey, my name's Inter, welcome back to the channel, and it's my birthday today. I'm going to be doing a birthday Q&A for you guys. I asked you guys to submit any questions you wanted to ask me in this video about a week ago in a community post and in my Discord server as well, which by the way, if you're not in the Discord server, link for that will be down below. You should definitely join up. We have a bunch of cool people there. I'm active there occasionally. There's LFG channels that you can find people to play with. You can discuss your favorite gods and dedicated god channels. Tons of stuff in the Discord server, so definitely join that if you're interested. But shameless plugging aside, let's just jump right into the Q&A. So first question we have here from that guy in the suit. What made you decide to start your channel? So not really much, to be honest. I was just like, it would be kind of cool to start a channel. I originally started with making montage videos, which I might put a clip of one of my like really old montage videos in this one if you want to cringe a little bit. This was like way back in the day, back in like, I want to say 2018 or something like that, maybe even 2017, but I think around 2018 when I was just making like random montage videos when I had like 100 subs. And yeah, then eventually I decided to start doing like voiceovers and top 10s and this kind of stuff, and it just kind of snowballed from there, I guess, and now I'm in this position where I have like a decent sized channel. It's kind of crazy, to be honest. Next question from Jimmy Johnson. He asks, will you ever change the basis of your channel away from Smite? Not that I think you need to or anything, just curious about the future of intersex. PS, you're cute. Well, thank you. In terms of changing my channel away from Smite, potentially. It depends if a game comes out that I'm as interested in as I am in Smite that I think I could cover like full time on my channel without burning myself out or something like that. Because I do enjoy a lot of other games, but they're not necessarily games that I would want to like create content for full time, if you get what I mean with that. Like Smite is something that's one, quite easy to create content for, I feel like, and two, a game that I like really enjoy and have dedicated a ton of time to. And so I kind of have like the experience to make that kind of content. In terms of games that are out right now though, no, there's nothing I really want to transition my channel to. I make the occasional like different video, like I've done a fair few Divinity videos in the past. I really love that game, but it's not something I will pivot my channel to like as a full-time thing. But potentially, you know, if another game comes out that grabs my interest as much as Smite did back in the day and I can like get my knowledge base built up on that kind of a game, then yeah, I potentially would pivot my channel if I find a game that I enjoy more than Smite that I want to do full-time content. Joe Random asks, do you support a football team? Not really in terms of like Premier League teams or anything like that, but I guess I support the England team, you know, the England national team for like the World Cup, the Euros, that kind of stuff. How I Met Your Alex asks, how often do you cut your hair? Probably like once a month or so. I do my own hair, I just kind of like buzz it with a razor and then, you know, put some gel in it, that kind of stuff. Ever since the start of COVID, I've just been doing that. I kind of got used to it. I shaved my head at the start of COVID. I'll probably put a picture of a completely ballless sect in the video. And yeah, ever since then, I've just been like, why not? I've kind of like just gotten used to doing it at this point, and I don't really bother going to the barbers anymore. Gladiator1 asks, what really makes you angry? Smite related and non-Smite related. So Smite related, I mean Afro, right? I mean, that's a pretty simple one. You know, getting my kills denied by Afro, pretty angry about that one. And then non-Smite related, oh, I think Tarkov and Tekken are the two games that make me the most mad. Probably Tarkov, because anyone that's played that game, you'll know that you lose your gear when you die. Like, you lose everything you had on you, and it's so frustrating, especially if you die to a hacker or something like that, or like some bullshit. So that can really tilt me, Tarkov, and also Tekken, just because it's such a difficult game, and because it's a 1v1 game, it's not like you can blame your team like everyone does in Smite. If you lose in Tekken, you lose because you are shit, and that kind of tilts me sometimes. Lillian Low, or Lillian Lou, something like that, asks, what type of new mechanic or god do you want to see for the end of the season or for the new season? So a pretty interesting one here. I'd like to see a no damage god. I've put out a concept for one of those, which I'll link down below, myself, like my own concept for a no damage god. Also potentially a mixed damage type god, you know, similar to how Ula switches between melee and ranged. You could potentially have a god that can switch or deal like multiple damage types. And also some kind of major summoner. Like, we kind of have like Hera and Skadi that are a little bit like that in the game, but not like a true summoner. I think it would be difficult to implement into the game, but it could be like a really cool, unique character design. Benny G or Benny G asks, do you make content for a living? If so, what would you do instead? So yeah, I do make content for a living. For the last, like, I mean, technically I've been in uni for like the last 4 years, but I finished uni like last year, and since that point I've just been doing content for a living, yeah. In terms of what I would do instead, I would probably use my uni degree, get some kind of job in IT tech, that kind of stuff. My degree is computer systems engineering, so something along those lines. Or potentially something like media or content creation related that's not like my own channel, like maybe doing editing for someone else or like making promotional videos for companies, that kind of stuff. Duda Kvinikadze asks, first of all, happy birthday, man. Thank you. How old are you? I'm 24. If you were to remove a Pantheon, which one would it be? This is interesting. Obviously, I don't want to remove any Pantheons, but if I was forced to, probably Yoruba? Just because I don't really like Umoja or Olorun that much, so probably I would remove those. Also, it's one of the smaller Pantheons, so, like, I'm not removing as many gods. If I was removing, like, Norse or Greek or whatever, I'd be removing, like, dozens of gods from the game, which I don't really want to do. And number 3, please tell me when you're going to do an every item in 30 seconds or less vid. It would be so helpful. That's a good one. I'll put that on my list for sure. Tempura Boy asks, do you believe with all your heart that Smite will be as big as League one day? Why and why not? So, no, I don't think Smite will ever be as big as League. Most games are never going to be as big as League. It's one of the biggest games of all time. Smite just doesn't really have that same kind of an audience. Mark Black asks, have you ever played ranked Joust to a fairly high level? So I think I peaked Diamond 1 in ranked Joust. I never play it. There was one season where I decided to go try and go for Masters in every single game mode. And I got to Diamond 1, but then I was just queuing into 3 stacks of Masters, and it's like, how do you possibly compete with that when I didn't have a 3 stack to play with myself? I was just solo queuing ranked Joust, and I kind of just gave up at that point. But yeah, I peaked Diamond 1. For Mizukage Yagura asks, your gameplay is way better than a few years ago. Do you think Smite Study helped? So, I don't know if I agree with this. I feel like my gameplay is maybe worse than it was a few years ago. I feel like I kind of peaked around Season 5 and 6. That was when I was playing at my absolute best. Though I still play well, I suppose, but I don't really grind ranked in the same way that I was grinding ranked back in like Season 5 and 6, going for Masters and that kind of stuff. But yeah, study of the game will always help. There's like kind of game knowledge and then mechanics that are kind of like the 2 pillars of whether you'll do well in Smite. You know, you need the game knowledge of like how much damage enemy gods will be dealing to you at what time, and at like what point in the game, so you can kind of like, you know, make risky plays and get away with it, what kind of like things your god can do, knowledge of that kind of stuff. And then there's also mechanics in terms of just being able to actually like hit your abilities, having good game sense. And that stuff kind of builds up over time, so yeah. I suppose game knowledge is kind of like ever increasing, but my mechanics, I would say, are probably like even worse than they were a little while ago, because I don't put as much practice in like high level ranked. I take the game a little bit less seriously nowadays than I did a few years ago. Don't get me wrong, I'm still an absolute sweaty tryhard, but I'm not like trying to push Masters every like split of the season, which is what I used to do. Every Lost Legend asks, which Pantheon is your favourite and why? So I think I have to go with Arthurian here. I just love the whole Arthurian lore and that kind of idea. How Smite does it is really good in my opinion. I'm English, so that like adds to it as well. And King Arthur is my favourite god of all time probably, so yeah. However, they are a small Pantheon. If I had to choose a larger one, I'll probably go with Norse. I really love the whole Norse lore. Like everything to do with Norse lore is so cool. Like playing through God of War 2018 was really sick as well. I watched like Vikings and Vikings Valhalla and Norsemen. Like I'm just really big into Norse culture as well, so that's also really cool. Alien Souls asks, are you liking the future direction of Smite so far? So this is an interesting one because Season 10 is probably going to be a bit of a change, not necessarily a change in direction for Smite, but we're going to get a lot of new stuff announced, I would imagine, for the like decade of Smite. They've already said that like they're going to be a huge update for the start of Season 10, and like probably a lot of like fundamental things will change. Maybe clans will be added back, probably a new conquest map, potentially a lot of like big gameplay changes. And so I guess the direction of Smite for like the next few years will probably be defined when Season 10 releases, but overall, yeah, I'm pretty happy with how Smite's going so far. What's a skin line or event theme you'd like to see from Frou-Frou? Pokemon. Like some kind of Pokemon crossover battle pass or event would be so cool. There's so many like potential skins they could do. Like not only could you have famous trainers as like some of the humanoid characters, but a lot of the beast gods could be like reskinned as Pokemon. You know, Pikachu, Ratatoska is one that comes to mind, stuff like that. Like I think Pokemon has a lot of potential. It's probably not going to happen, but I can dream, you know. Kyle asks, what was your favorite childhood game? So I probably don't have like an all-time favorite, but I'll list a few that I really enjoyed back in my childhood. So Dragon Quest VIII Journey of the Cursed King, a really good RPG that I played back in the day. The whole Call of Duty franchise from like COD 4 through to Black Ops 2, I played every single game. In terms of like an overall favorite from those, probably Modern Warfare 2. Scalping Snake asks, what is your favorite build in DOS 2? Summoner is definitely my favorite build in Divinity Original Sin 2. Just the whole idea of summoning this massive incarnate, especially when you hit 10 summoning, it becomes like the absolutely giant version of just buffing the shit out of it and it does the work for you, is just like a really cool build in my opinion. A Squeezy Lemon asks, do you want to see more Lovecraftian gods other than just having Cthulhu in the game? Personally, I would love to see Nyarlathotep. Yeah, I'd be down for more Lovecraftian gods. I think in general, like, Smite should expand its scope, not from, like, necessarily just established pantheons of gods. Like, they could bring a bunch of cool characters to this game that aren't necessarily from, like, you know, strict mythos like Greek and Roman. You know, they're already doing that a little bit with kind of out-of-the-box characters like the Arthurian lore. Those aren't necessarily gods, they're like kind of myths and legends. I feel like they could expand to like that sort of stuff and bring some really cool characters to the game. Muse Mackie asks, are there any gods who you feel need a rework, either partial or complete, and how would you rework them? So this could honestly be a video in itself, and I probably will do this at some point. Like 5 or 10 gods I think should be reworked and like how I would rework them. I'll give you a couple here. So I think Arachne needs some kind of partial rework. I honestly don't think she needs a full rework necessarily. I would just change probably like her 2 for sure, maybe her passive and probably her ult as well. I like the webs, the one's pretty okay as well. Copper or Copa probably asks, what is the sickest play you've seen in recent memory? So this has to be the Deathwalker clip. Like that was a really recent one where he got like the 4 or 5 man Fearless in the Smite, I think it was Smite Masters LAN. That was just an absolutely sick play. And then if we're going to allow sort of going even further back, the enemy backdoor on Titan, back when enemy were like dominating the SPL in like one of the early seasons, like season 2 or 3 probably. They got like a sick backdoor when like Odin support was like super popular and Pain to Beyond was like kind of captain of that team. They got a really awesome backdoor on the Titan that was just like so hype as well.
They might even go for the cheese win. I mean,
oh, enemy, they're grouped up.
They could just sneak this Phoenix. I mean, this is Tom Clancy status. The teleports in and
Marauder's gonna come over here.
No way.
Here
They're actually going to end.
They're gonna skip the Phoenix.
Disgusting.
They're going right for the Titan. Here's the Chaos Ultimate. Ladies and gentlemen, the surprise win from enemy. Luminosity had no idea. Enemy takes it.
Accidentpronewise asks, what is your favourite memory of playing Smite? So 2 of my friends that we were playing Smite with like way back in the day queued into each other and ranked on opposite teams. Like they were both solo queuing ranked and they just happened to queue into each other on opposite teams. And I spectated the game from like the outside and I was like following them around as they were playing it and they were just raging at each other like...
They just can't do damage.
Stiller and Apollo, how do you have no damage?
Oh! They're not doing it! They're just doing it!
Why does Rat have crit and Executioner?
No! Stop! Yes! Did you win? Motherfucker! How? Come here! How? No! Let's go, boys! Yes! Yes! Fuck you, Donny!
Ladanian Watson asks, who do you think needs a rework or remodel most as of right now, and what are your ideas for any gods I'm thinking of? So in terms of gods that they could add, like new gods, I definitely want to see Mordred and Lady of the Lake from Arthurian. I think that would fill out the Pantheon pretty nicely. Reworks we've already talked about, and remodels, Cupid definitely needs one, Artemis maybe could do with one, Anhur could probably do with one as well. Coincidentally, those are all hunters, but like those are just the ones I thought of off the top of my head. I'm sure there are other gods that if I had a look at the gods list, I could be like, yeah, they probably need a remodel. So Jimothy asks, if you could dedicate your time to a different game, what would it be? So again, in terms of like doing YouTube on a different game, there isn't really one right now that I think I would pivot my channel to besides Smite. If I could dedicate like just like straight up transfer the hours that I put into Smite into a different game, I think it would be really cool to be insanely good at Tekken. Like I'm just intermediate at Tekken, like I'm okay, but there's definitely like way more skill ceiling that I could go to with that game, and there's like way, like an insane amount of ways to express yourself and like your skill in that game, and I feel like having thousands of hours in that, it would be so sick to be like really insane at Tekken. And when's the next Nuzlocke? At some point, I want to start streaming again once I get better internet. Basically, I'm back home after finishing uni now, and the internet that I have at my house is, like, not capable of streaming whatsoever. But once I get into my own place again, like, get my new apartment, and I have some better internet, I'm going to start streaming again, and that's probably when I'll start doing Nuzlockes, because they don't really work too well in a video format. They're better for streams, I feel like, so once I restart my streams up, I'll probably do another Nuzlocke. GMeowstick2x1 asks, a few questions. If you could make a god really OP without making every attack an insta-kill, which one would it be? I mean, Arthur, obviously. Number 2, if in some alternate universe where Smash Ultimate never stopped releasing new fighters and Smite got in, which god do you want it to be and why, and which other non-Smite character do you want in? Again, call me an Arthur simp, but I feel like it would work quite well in Ultimate. I feel like his 4B would be super sick if you could do an aerial off stage, so maybe it's like you build up some kind of energy meter over time, and then if you use like side B off stage, you grab them, do the like Arthur combo that he does with his 4B and Smite, and then you spike them downwards with it at the end for like a pretty much insta-kill. Obviously, it would have to be hard to charge up that energy bar, because that will just be like a mostly insta-kill off stage. Obviously, the spike would increase in strength the higher percent they are, so maybe if you do it at like 20%, it's not going to kill them or something, but maybe if they're at like 50% or more, it just insta-spikes them off the bottom of the stage. I think that would be pretty cool. And his whole like combo-y kind of playstyle, I feel like would translate quite well to Smash. In terms of a non-Smite character that I want in, I feel like Oberyn Oberyn Martell from Game of Thrones. It's a bit of a weird one, but I always loved that character. I feel like he was so cool with like his kind of mystery that he had going for him. And being able to fight with a spear like that, I feel like it would be quite cool in Smash. And finally, what do you think makes a good S-tier sandwich? A couple different kinds of meat, maybe some cheese. I think a different kinds of meat in a sandwich is like pretty essential, like chicken and like bacon, or maybe not bacon, but chicken and like prosciutto or something like that, very good. Shrimpy Boy asks, what are your thoughts on summoner characters being added to Smite? Maybe a god that has 3 summon abilities and 1 ability that buffs your summons, kind of like Release Vulcan. So yeah, there's a couple different ways they could go with this. I've kind of briefly mentioned this in the Q&A just earlier, but you could do something like this where they have 3 summons and then like an ult or something that's like buffs the summons in different ways, or you could have like 1 summon and then your other 3 abilities are different ways to buff the single summon. So it's like 2 kind of different ways you could do that, and I think I should definitely try and add this to Smite. It would be difficult to do, as I said before, like the balance would probably be terrible, but I think over time they could figure out how to balance this properly and make it work. Painfully Average asks, which archetype of characters do you think we need more of, like magical assassins / junglers, enchanter mages like Baron, etc. So yeah, you pretty much said it there, magical assassins. I feel like there is absolutely not enough magical assassins. There's like Alquang, and then maybe you could kind of class Hebo as one, but not really. I feel like the mage class in general has a ridiculous amount of unexplored potential. They should do more magical ADCs, magical assassins, magical supports, like mage supports. I mean, obviously Guardians are magical, but they do way too many generic burst mages in my opinion. I think the whole idea of the mage class being a hybrid where you have some generic burst mages, but you also have ones that are trying to like imitate other classes is a really cool idea, and they don't explore it enough in my opinion. I hit Rama ult, but miss your Mia ult. Nice one, man. What's your favorite position? I think probably this position in Garruk Kasparov's Immortal game. Very, very cool position in my opinion. I like it. Crystal Dragon, are you a morning bird or a night owl? Definitely a night owl. Local Anime Pleb asks, KFC or McDonald's? So this used to be KFC for me, but it's McDonald's now. KFC, at least in the UK, they ruined their chips. Fries for you Americans. They made them terrible. They used to be like the best fries in the industry, and now they're just trash, and McDonald's has much better fries. Also, McDonald's generally just offers like more variety of stuff. Like if you want, you can get like a beef burger or whatever from there, whereas KFC is just chicken. Even though chicken's my favorite way to go, sometimes I'm not really feeling chicken. Montage when? So for my 50k subscriber special, I actually did a montage. I'll link that one down below if you guys want to check it out. And yeah, let me know if you want to see another montage, I suppose. Your top 3 favorite gods from each Pantheon. So top 3 is going to take me a long time. I'll try and do my favorite god from each Pantheon just by top 1. Right, so I've got all the Pantheons up on my second monitor here. So for Arthurian, obviously it's King Arthur, but honestly Lancelot does come close. I really do enjoy Lancelot as well. In terms of Babylonian, only 3 to choose from here. I don't really play Tiamat. Ishtar isn't really that interesting to me, so I'll probably Gilgamesh from Babylonian. Celtic, only 5 to choose from. Cuchulainn or the Morrigan, they're both pretty close for me. I do enjoy both of those. Cleo also not too bad. From Chinese, tons to choose from here. Probably Erlang Shen though. Erlang Shen definitely one of my favorite warriors, but Hebo's close as well. Hebo's really fun. Egyptian, again a large pantheon. Probably Thoth looking at these. Yeah, I think Thoth for Egyptian. Great old ones, it might be Cthulhu, maybe. Greek, probably the largest pantheon, maybe tied with Norse or something like that. Looking at this, probably Achilles. Oh, actually, no, Nemesis. Yeah, Nemesis will probably be my favorite Greek god, but there's a lot that I like from Greek, to be honest. Hindu, Agni? I want to say Kali, but like Kali's a bit brain dead, to be honest, so probably Agni. Wait, never mind, Ravan. I completely forgot about Ravan. Ravan's sick. Definitely my favorite Hindu god there. Japanese, Amaterasu, no question. Mayan... Oh, Awilix, yeah, definitely Awilix for Mayan. I was looking at these, like, I don't really like any of these too much, and then saw Awilix. Yeah, Awilix is far and away my favorite Mayan god for sure. Norse, so many I like from Norse, honestly. Absolutely ridiculous amount of gods that I really like from this category. I think it's a very close tie between Ulla, Thor, and Sol. I think I'll probably go with Thor ultimately, but Ulla, Thor, Sol, all really insanely fun. Polynesian, possibly Pele. You know, just maybe. Roman, another one where I like a fair few here. There's Hercules, there's Bellona, there's Mercury, there's Janus. Probably overall, I would say Hercules. Slavic, only Baba and Chernobog to choose from here, so probably Baba. I don't really like Baba either, but Chernobog is fucking boring, so definitely not Chernobog. Voodoo, Baron, of course. Even if there were other voodoo gods, it would still be Baron. Baron's absolutely sick. And then Yoruba, I guess I prefer Olorun to Yamoja. Again, I don't really like either of these, though. I mentioned earlier in the video, this is probably the Pantheon I'd remove. But yeah, there's your quick fire round of my favorite god from every single Pantheon. Above Neath asks, item and ability you miss because they've been removed, changed, or nerfed. So it's not a single item, but tier 2 bridge items in general, I feel like I'm very sad those are gone. They brought like a really interesting gameplay dynamic in my opinion, where you could sacrifice ultimately like gold in the long term because you're going to have to sell the tier 2 item for a full tier 3 in the late game, but they gave you like a big power spike and were very efficient for the stats, but with like no upgrade path. And then in terms of an ability, Mercury's one proccing Golden Blade. I know it's ridiculously OP and they couldn't really leave it in the game, but I think it was really interesting when, well, not necessarily Golden Blade, I said Golden Blade, but Mercury's one proccing auto attack items in general. I just think it was a really cool idea, and I can kind of get why it couldn't have stayed in the game, but it was really cool in my opinion. Kind of same thing with Ao Kuang's 3 as well. I think Ao Kuang's 3 potentially could be brought back. It might be a little busted, but it won't be quite as busted as Mercury's 1 doing it, I don't think. So we have burger or pizza, and then pineapple on pizza. So pizza over burgers for sure. I really do enjoy my pizza. And then pineapple on pizza, it's not for me, but I'm not against it. Like, I think pineapple is fine on pizza, I just don't really like pineapple. Like, I don't think sweet on pizza is necessarily a bad idea. Call me a heretic if you want, but that's my true opinion. Necromancer asks, what is your best pickup line? Hey girl, can I Sobek pluck into your backline? Local anime pleb asks, if you could bring 5 new gods from any pantheon, who would it be and why? So again, 5 is a bit much, but I would bring Lady of the Lake and Mordred from the Arthurian pantheon. I think that would really be a good completion of the pantheon. Obviously, there's probably more you could bring as well. But I think Lady of the Lake as some kind of like enchantress mage that's mainly designed for support will be really cool. And then Mordred, I guess, as an assassin could also work as a warrior. What's your favourite COD game? So I think I mentioned this in a previous one actually, but it would probably be Modern Warfare 2 overall. Although it's very close with a lot of the Treyarch zombie games, like the original Treyarch zombie games, like World at War, Black Ops 1, Black Ops 3 as well, because it has like such a good map variety. But yeah, nothing beats Call of Duty Modern Warfare 2 in terms of like multiplayer experience. That game was just so sick. Macon Answer asks, what are your PC specs? Go in depth, and headphone specs too, may as well do a review. Okay, so I'll try and do this off the top of my head. If not, I may have to open up the specs on my like actual PC here, but I have an RTX 2060 with an i7 8700K, 16 gigs of DDR4. I have a Kraken X62 AIO liquid cooler for my CPU, triple fan graphics card as well, cooler. Like 700 watt PSU. I'm recording this currently on a Sony a6000 camera, which is for like my streams and my face cams and that kind of stuff. My mic is the Shure SM7B mounted on a Rode like boom arm. Corsair mechanical keyboard, Logitech mouse. There's a cloud lifter as well for my mic, if that matters. Focusrite Scarlett 2i2 is the interface for all my audio equipment, so like headphones are plugged into that, my mic is also plugged into that. I've got a Samsung like 32-inch, I think, primary monitor, and then a 27-inch Asus as my secondary monitor. Like, who doesn't have 2 monitors nowadays? It's so useful. And finally would be the headphones, I guess. These are Audio-Technica. I can't remember the exact model. They're Audio-Technica. I'll put an edit on the video. I'll find out afterwards what the actual model is for these, but they're Audio-Technica for sure. And yeah, I believe that's pretty much everything in terms of specs for my PC. I'm going to be looking to upgrade at some point, mainly the graphics card, because like my CPU, it's an i7 8700K. It'll do for a while, especially if I want to bother overclocking it at any point. But the graphics card is like not too powerful. Like, it's a 2060, it wasn't even super top of the range when I bought it, and it's a few years old at this point. I've just been waiting for graphics card prices to come down a little bit to a more reasonable level, and I'm probably going to upgrade to either a 30 series or a 40 series from Nvidia. Most likely like 3070, 3080, 4070, 4080. It depends on the pricing of everything and what I kind of need for the performance. DM Prime 17 asks, do you have favorite items in game? Gauntlet of Thebes I really just like as an item. I like that it's ridiculously overstarted because it's a support item and kind of gets supports rolling a little bit early on. Glad Shield is a really cool item as well. Both the old design of Glad Shield and the new design. I think it's really cool that like you can build damage off of having protections, and on a similar note, Manticore Spikes as well, really cool item. Also Fabulous Tubes, a lot of the earrings are quite cool. The Griffin Wing earrings are a bit boring because all they really do is increase your projectile speed. They don't really do like that much for you, but I think the whole idea of the earring tree is really cool, and I hope they kind of add new ones of that regard, where they're like a little bit more different kind of items that aren't just a pile of stats and they kind of change your gameplay quite a lot. The Arthurian tree is similar as well. Who was the very first god you played when you started the game? So I think the very first god I played was Artemis. I also played a lot of Geb, because when I played, like when I originally started playing, the next release was Geb, and then the release after that was Nemesis, all the other way around. So I was playing around like 2014, that kind of time, and I was like, oh, these are new gods, these look pretty cool, I'll play these. And it turns out Geb and Nemesis are 2 gods I still really enjoy to this day, so. Matan asks, favourite Smite season and why? So I think this probably goes to season 5. A little while back this would have gone to season 2 because it had Bologna and Amaterasu as like 2 of the releases in that season to like open and end the season. And they used to be like my 2 favourite gods. To be honest, I think they've been a little bit design creeped by some other gods that I find more fun. So they're not like my top 2 gods anymore. They're still probably both in my top 5, let's be real. But yeah, there's some gods that I enjoy more now, like King Arthur, who I believe released in season 5 or like the tail end of season 5. So that's 1 bonus point for season 5. But mainly it was the new Conquest map that completely changed things up from the season 3 and 4 Conquest map that was just absolute garbage. And it feels like season 5 did kind of like turn the game around in a certain sense. They made a lot of improvements to the game in season 5, and I think it was really good for Smite overall. Crazy Kalen asks, what's the hardest game you've ever played, and if given the chance, would you make content for it? So I've kind of mentioned this before, but probably Tekken or Tarkov are like the hardest games I've played. Tarkov is just brutal and punishing. Like, it's mostly a game knowledge game. Not so much of like you need to have insane mechanics. Like, you need to be able to aim and shoot, but it's mostly like you need to have knowledge of the maps, where the good loot is, knowledge of figuring out Tarkov's terrible audio issues to like actually figure out where someone is. And then Tekken is a bit on the other side. Like, you do need game knowledge in Tekken, but you also need really good mechanics to be able to like pull off combos and punishes and all this kind of stuff. In terms of making content for them, probably not as like a full-time thing. Maybe I would make the occasional video on them, kind of like I do with Divinity at the moment. So yeah, if any of you guys are big Tekken or Tarkov players, let me know down below, because if there's a bit of interest for it, I could potentially make a couple of videos on those topics. Make an answer asks, did you kill the Queen? Yeah, Queen Elizabeth. She saw my King Arthur gameplay and it just put her in the grave, man. She couldn't handle it. Elzo the King asks, what's your favourite song or favourite genre of music? So for me, I kind of have like 2 different sections of music for like 2 different vibes depending on how I'm feeling. If I'm feeling kind of like energetic, like I'm gaming and I want some hype or whatever, I listen to a lot of power metal like Dragon Force, Avantasia, Alan Land, Yorn Land, like all these kind of like high energy like power metal sort of stuff. But then I also have like the other side of my listening habits where like if I'm in a more chill mood, like I'm just chilling out playing like a single player game or just sat on my bed listening to music, I'll often listen to a lot of like classic 70s and 80s rock. So like Led Zeppelin, Deep Purple, Rush, stuff like that. And yeah, it really kind of depends on the vibe of the time. Yo Nice Buff asks, if you could delete one god, which one would it be? Afro? I think I may have already answered this one in the Q&A before, but yeah, probably Afro. Screw Afro, man. Buff Neath, what would you say if Smite changed to UE4 or 5? That would be so hype. I think Smite's still on UE3, right? Which is just so old at this point. Maybe they were waiting for like UE5 to make a transition. We can dream. The game could look so much nicer if it was built in UE5. And will probably like function a lot better as well. Morpy-chan asks, if you were a god in Smite, what class, abilities and such would you have? Basically just King Arthur's full kit. Yeah, that'd be me. Purple Tux asks, how much could you bench?
I'd ask you if you lift, but bruh, I can see the answer just by looking at you.
TonyBoy asks, if you had the chance to have a skin, what would it be? So I assume this means like if I could have any skin that I've like missed in the past or whatever, it would definitely be Archon Thanatos, the original tier 5, the best tier 5 in my opinion. I missed it back in the day because I wasn't so invested in Smite that I was buying tier 5s at that point. Poseidon is another one that would be cool to have, but Archon Thanatos for sure. Buff Kusimbo asks, are you thinking about bringing streams back anytime soon? And if yes, will you stream on Twitch or YouTube? So I've mentioned this one in the Q&A already. My internet just sucks at the moment when I'm back home. I literally can't stream on this. It's just absolute trash. But once I get my new apartment and I have a bit better internet, I'm definitely going to start streaming again occasionally. In terms of streaming on Twitch or YouTube, I don't really know at this point. Like, YouTube is better for me because it kind of like I already have my audience here and I'll probably get more overall viewership from people that just get notifications on YouTube. And you can't like multi-stream to the platforms because like in Twitch's like partner agreement, you can't like stream the Twitch stuff to like another site at the same time. They'll ban you for it. So I don't know. To be honest, I'll probably think about whether I'm going to do it on Twitch or YouTube. I'm kind of undecided at the moment. DM Prime 17 asks, when did you start playing Smite? So back in January 2014, as I said, Geb and Nemesis were kind of like the new releases back then. And that's everything for the birthday Q&A. I think there was about 50 questions here. I took some of the best ones that I thought would have interesting answers from me and picked them for the Q&A. Hopefully you enjoyed this one, and I'll probably end up doing another Q&A or something around the time I hit 100k, so we may have another one of these going on pretty soon. If your question wasn't answered, you can ask one for that one. But yeah, I'll catch you guys in another one later on. Have a great day, and peace out, you nerds.